What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. I'm Love Coach Scott Thomas, and I'm really excited about tonight's show. We've got 4 authors as part of our Authors That We Love series, and they've all written multiple books on consciousness and all the things that the awakening world is all about. So it's going to be a great show and an opportunity for us to get to know these wonderful authors. And I want to remind all of you that are watching on Facebook and YouTube, thank you, welcome, and come join us. It's easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, click register for the new season, and it will take you to the registration page. And that's where you can, in about 60 seconds, kind of get all the links. You'll also be able to learn all about us, all the different things that we provide. For those of you that are new, we do 2 shows every week, every Wednesday night and Saturday night, always at 6 o'clock Pacific time, and always quite fun. And this is a great time to join us because we just started a new season, and when you join, you'll get the links to all of our shows for the rest of the year. So do join us. And let me briefly show you who our authors are tonight. Coming all the way from Brisbane, Australia, we've got Dr. Joanna. And I'm really excited about her. Well, I'm excited about all these authors. We've got Anton Gross is with us. So welcome, Anton. And we have Simran Singh. And we have Celeste Mattingly. So you're going to get to know all of them. We're going to learn about their books. But of course, we also have with us that wonderful tag team of Desiree and Diara, who provide support and are going to lead tonight's healing experience and our prayer time. And as always, we like to start the show with our beloved house musical artist, the one and only Omastar, also known as Omashar.
That's right. So welcome and namaste, everybody. I'm excited about this show too. The authors are absolutely awesome. And we're going to start with a song called Still We Wonder Why. So still as in be still and know thyself. And then the wonder comes in. So here we go. A fish called Wonder.
brighter than the sun,
life is one. All the past falls like rain into the soil of future dreams. Love, the footprint in the sand. Eyes shining like the stars. And the way is suddenly so clear. And we know what has to be done. And still we wonder why the flowers keep on blooming. The stardust in our eyes lifts us all to a higher plane, a deeper truth, our rightful place, and still we wonder why. Life, a promise to fulfill. Now, a vision is revealed, and the blessings of who we really are can be felt throughout our world. And still we wonder why the flowers keep on blooming. The stardust in our eyes lifts us all to a higher plane, a deeper truth, our rightful place, and still we wonder why. Light, brighter than the sun. Here where life is one. Love, the footprint in the sand. Eyes shining like the stars. And still we wonder why.
We're going to go to gallery view for some twinkling of Omashar, sending him love and appreciation. And we do wonder why. And that's why we've got the authors that we have tonight, because they're going to help answer some of the questions for us. So I'm excited. Thank you so much, Omashar. And of course, he'll be back 2 more times tonight with songs, and also hopefully with some thoughts and considerations about what we're going to be talking about, because we're going to have some really good conversation. And that means I want to really involve you, our Zoom room audience. I asked you to share some of the books you've been reading, and I'm going to read that. Desiree mentioned Anna, Grandmother of Jesus. It's a wonderful book. I haven't read a book in about 30 years, but I listened to audiobooks. And I listened to that audiobook, and it is fantastic. It's a really very descriptive, and I bought it. It's like, yes, I believe this is what happened and how it went. It was a wonderful book. Highly recommended. Susan Woolridge wrote Chico, Stories We Didn't Tell by Anna Citrino. Welcome, Eleanor Joy. Lynn and Leaf, John and Paul, A Love Story in Music. I don't know what that book is, but I can imagine what it is about. It looks good. And Douglas Stevenson is Reverend Jeffrey's choice for the farm story. And we're going to have Douglas Stevenson on this show very, very soon, later this month. Carol is in Mountain View, California, and she's zooming in, and she's given us many books. Crow Dog, 4 Generations of Sioux Medicine Men. That looks really interesting. And she's reading by our good friend Jude Caravan, The Cosmic Hologram. We just had Jude on the show. Gerald, our wild monk of the Mystic Monastery, writes, the book I learned the most from this year is Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. Excuse me, I got something stuck in my throat. And Eleanor Joy's most recent book, The View from Coffin Ridge, Childhood Exhumed by Gwen Lamont. So thank you for giving us these books. Susan Blomquist liked The Education of Little Tree. This book seemed to be full of life advice and wisdom. So there you have it. Well, I'm going to start bringing up our authors, and we're going to give each author 10 minutes just to get to know them. And then we'll do our prayer time, and then we're going to really open it up to a lot of Q&A. So think about what questions you might have for the authors as they speak. And our first author is Simran Singh. Her first time here on the show, welcome. And she has a really fascinating background. She's a 6-time Gold Award-winning author, soul artist, mystic, and the book that she's going to be talking about is called Signs, Sacred Encounters with Pathways, Turning Points, and Divine Guideposts. She is all about utilizing her time-tested understanding, integrated experience, and intuitive mastery to convey a deeper understanding of the mystical conversation between the seen and the unseen. So this is exciting, and she's going to help us open to a deep and trusting relationship with the universe. So welcome, Simran, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Scott. It's so wonderful to be with you and all of these beautiful other authors and your community. I'm excited. It's a wonderful thing that you're doing here.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge our mutual friend, Ariel Patricia, who referred you. And we love Ariel, and so many of her authors have been on the show. So we really appreciate the wonderful work that she does. And we'll definitely post about her publishing company. So let's go right in. Tell us a little bit about your journey of bridging between the seen and the unseen. What's that look like for you? How did you kind of come into that? And what can you share about that part of your journey?
My journey really began a little over 2 decades ago, and it began with signs, literally asking the universe for signs. And that conversation has become more popular these days, but at that time, not many people were talking about the signs that appear. And the ones that showed up for me initially were the numbers 11, 111, and 1111. And once I started to see these signs and realized that a communication was happening, my curiosity was really piqued. I have always wanted to figure life out and truly understand this web of interconnection that we have. And so I thought that if the universe can speak to me through numbers, how many other ways is it speaking to me? And I discovered that it is speaking to all of us in every kind of way. And now more than ever, with so many individuals that are feeling the angst or the fear or have any worry or any anger and upset about what's going on right now, it is a critical time to understand the depth and breadth of which the signs are occurring, not simply as those divine aha moments that make us giggle and run out and want to tell a friend about them, but that really are the personal growth path for humanity to go inside and really find all of these places inside of ourselves of what we're seeing outside to really advance our consciousness and our vibration. And so I talk about the different ways that signs appear and how we can utilize those to not only advance ourselves in personal growth and soul growth, but how that presence in ourselves and towards our own expansion actually is the key to advancing our world and opening us up to more compassion.
Beautiful. What are some examples in your direct life of signs that maybe started off as obtuse or that you put together that had a practical impact on your forward movement?
Yes, so many individuals look at the types of signs that appear for most of us, which are the numbers, or people look at animal totems that show up for us. Sometimes you receive words or images on billboards and books and things like that. I started to look a little bit deeper, and some of the key moments in my life happened with my children. I started to notice the things that were happening to them in their lives were actually pointers. So, for example, I had a young son, and at the age of 3, he ended up in the hospital and he had an asthma attack. It happened to be on Mother's Day. And
Mm.
so that really had me look at, okay, this really, although it's him, it must have something to do with me. And I started to decode this system of how our children really come in to reflect to us the very moments of our wounding. And if we really grasp that, that what happened to me at the age of 3 that would have me suppress tears is what he's pointing to, then that actually will heal his issue and also heal mine. And that's what started to happen. It happened with my pets, my homes, my cars, my plumbing, every single thing that I was seeing was really me speaking back to me about me. And that is how the signs in our universe work. It's not just a butterfly or a hot air balloon or a rainbow in the sky. It is every single thing that is showing up in our lives, especially the ordinary, especially the flat tire, the burst pipe, the beautiful new baby that enters the family. The signs can be positive, they can be the kinds of signs that make us feel like something is not really good that's happening, but actually is something that's to open us up to a greater good. And that's what I want individuals to understand. There is no bad in this world. There is only the opportunity to break through the faults and the masks that we see. And sometimes those kinds of signs have to show up to get us there.
Wow. Okay, you really piqued my interest here. So am I understanding that when you say that everything, the butterfly, the flat tire, is us, is that a perception that we each are having our own cosmic movie and we're the star of the movie? Or is it more a unitive narrative thought that we're all, one experience? Please tell me more about that idea.
We have a world that looks and feels very real. If we reach out and touch it, our hearts can hurt, our fingers can touch things, it can be physical, but it is really holographic. And we are having a collective experience, but we are also having a very individual experience where our bubbles of reality do combine and connect with each other in ways that support both of us. And so I like to tell people you are not on a journey. There's no place to get to, there's no goal to reach, there's no thing out there or beyond that you are trying to attain. You are not on a journey, you are the journey. Every moment in your life, every experience, every emotion, everything you encounter is purely for you. You are not in the world. You are every piece and part of the world speaking back to you about you. And if you really start to look at life in this way, all of a sudden the lens can grow larger. Because then, when we look at it from the really large lens, the things that we're seeing on television, the things that we encounter that hurt our heart, if we can pull back that energy from the reaction of what's going on out there and instead ask the question, where is that in me? And find that. Where is that war inside of me? And perhaps that war is the split between the soul and the human identity. Perhaps that war is the split between the heart and the mind. Perhaps that war is between me and my family or a friend or an ex. Perhaps that war is my warring thoughts about what's going on in this world. And it's that that needs to be neutralized, not the external, but the internal. And the more of us that really work on this internal, we will start to see that external change. Now, I'm not saying that there's not things to do outside, but I am a firm believer that if we first go inside before we go outside, a lot more can be accomplished. And so that applies to what we see anywhere in our field, whether it is in our homes, in our communities, in our country, or on a global scale. What you see is you reflecting you. And more than likely, the things that are the most triggering are the things that are deepest within you that are calling to be seen. They're calling for your attention. And when we do that, we really do expand our consciousness and our hearts, particularly towards compassion, which I truly believe is our ultimate purpose in being here.
Wow. I'm intrigued, and definitely I look forward to getting to our Q&A time to, go deeper. Quickly, can you give an example from your life of something hard, something that would seemingly be a bummer, that you were able to translate that sign and have it turn around into seeing it as positive direction or even a shift in your consciousness?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I had an experience about 12 years ago where I encountered a deep loss of children. And not only that, there was a legal situation that ended up ensuing that dragged on, and there was a lot of injustice that took place. And just like any person, when you engage in an experience in the immediate, all of the emotions, all of the things start to come up of they are wrong and this shouldn't have happened and how could this happen, and there's so much injustice in the world. That's natural. But if instead of just falling into that, if we stop for a minute and go, wait a minute, these are my thoughts, these are my beliefs. I believe in an unjust world. I believe in oppression. I believe that there is wrong. I believe that I have lost something. Then we start to see what our true belief systems are. And we can start to look at those signs really for what they were. And so as I looked at what was being lost, it was more of me looking at myself to say, okay, I've lost these children, but what is the mirror of that? What is the reflection and the sign of that? And it took me to a place of looking at how I had become lost so early on, how oppression outside was really mirroring how I oppress myself, how the heartbreak that I was seeing, that experiencing on the outside, was really taking me to the deep inner heartbreak that was there for so long, that was so far into my past. And that's really what so many of our experiences take us to. When we have an encounter, whether it is a job loss or a divorce or a car accident or a tragedy that takes place in our lives, yes, it is painful in that moment. Yes, we're going to have emotions about it in that moment. But what I'd like to have you inquire upon is, what if that is the very incident that had to happen to open you up to the original cause? What if that incident is really only an echo, a reincarnation again and again and again, that stems from an original point that keeps trying to get your attention? And so that moment of extreme grief, after doing decades of inner work, I had to stop and say, if I've created this in my life after decades of inner work, I have missed something. Can I commit as much to the darkness as I have to the light? Because perhaps all the light I've been seeing, as beautiful as it is, as beautiful as I've created, is actually artificial light of the false self that needed to overcome the childhood wounds and overcompensate. And in truth, my brightest light sits within the darkness, because we don't need light in light. We need light in the darkness. And that is what I found, grief to be a portal that I could enter into and be a doorway where humanity is the avenue to reach divinity. And that's what signs will take us to if we will utilize them to their greatest degree. They are sacred encounters.
I want to just breathe that in. That was very deep and very profound. And if I understand correctly, you were referencing your own loss of children, which is about the biggest loss possible. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being with us. And definitely look forward to bringing you back on for our conversation. Thank you. Well, that's a hard act to follow, but fortunately, we've got all the way from Brisbane, Australia, Dr. Joanna, who also is referred to us by Ariel from Sacred Stories. And Joanna is the author of Alien Goddess, UFOs, and the Goddesses of Ascension. Now, that's pretty interesting, right? Connecting Goddesses of Ascension. She also wrote The Other Goddess, Mary Magdalene, and the Goddesses of Eros and Secret Knowledge. Now, Joanna's not just a scholar, but she's also a fearless spiritual detective, unearthing mysteries that challenge conventional narratives. Her journey began in communist Poland with $20 and a borrowed suitcase. She moved to Sweden, then Paris and Canada. She's received 3 university degrees, and she has gone deep into exploring all these topics. And here's a question that she gave me. So this is from Joanna, but it's a unique question. Is there a connection between AI, UFOs, and the esoteric goddess traditions? And she mentions many of them. So a fascinating life you've led, and tell us about being a spiritual detective.
Hi, Scott, and hello, everyone. And thank you for this beautiful presentation, Simran. I was very touched. I was very touched. So thank you for that. So spiritual detective, yes. So it came a little bit, I think about 2 decades ago, when I was already an academic and I had this big dream of being a writer. And then I had a spiritual awakening, and it really complicated my life. Because things that were so important for me were suddenly not important for me. I went through initiation in a Hindu-oriented tradition, esoteric Hindu tradition. And then as I thought that I found the path, I met 2 men who took me on a journey to Jerusalem. And one of them gave me the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which I didn't know it existed, which in itself is very interesting because I got my postgraduate degrees from the University of Toronto and the Pontifical Institute. Pontifical Institute is a branch of Vatican, right? But they never they never mentioned to me esoteric texts that actually speak of divine feminine, such as the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and Pistis Sophia. And then I started to uncover, I went on this amazing journey that is a continuous journey of uncovering what was lost, of uncovering this other form of consciousness, which I call a feminine consciousness or goddess consciousness, but it could also be called Christ consciousness or unifying consciousness. Because I think that this particular form of consciousness, which represents intuition and insight, which actually is our divine spark within our human bodies, was lost. And that this lost tradition, which was pushed into the margin, and I explore it in my book on Mary Magdalene first, there's a long tradition of priestesses and goddesses that represent that. And then I decided, how can I move forward with this? Because as Simran mentioned, we as a species are really at a crossroads. We are facing realities that no other generations had to including artificial intelligence. And if you want me to continue, I may try to answer this complex question that I
Yes,
put in my
please.
bio.
It's fascinating.
And the reason, just for everybody, the reason why I call myself a spiritual detective, it is because I want to check my ego as well, because when you explore priestess traditions and so on, there are lots of priestesses around, and all kinds of claims are being made and so on. And I'm not questioning this is true, but I thought that being an academic and so on, I better keep a check on this. So spiritual detective is basically, this is what it is. I am looking into ancient esoteric texts and trying to bring them to a bigger public, larger public, and share my own experiences with them as well, because I believe that the sacred texts are initiating us. So if you approach a sacred text, especially esoteric text, with devotion, you give it time, and you kind of surrender to this, and you ask it questions very much in the way that Simran is asking for science, it will initiate you. So this is the most beautiful initiation. So for me, being a bit of a nerd for all my life and studying all of these things, I thought that this is the true initiation for me. They actually pass on that energy to you. So I really highly recommend it for everyone. But my recent book, which is this one, Alien Goddess, it just came out. That's why I feel like a proud mama. It just came out. Actually came from reading another book by a famous author and academic. And as I was reading that book, my soul was shattered because I really didn't believe in evil before. And because I felt that suddenly I was faced with evil, or maybe an evil idea, which I later move on to calling it an ignorant idea, is that when I listened to an interview with a transhumanist who is in robotics, and I'll explain what I mean by transhumanism, who basically is telling us that in transhumanism, very enthusiastically, that we can transfer human consciousness to a robotic body or a computer system. And I intuitively knew that that's wrong, right? But I had to investigate it because I started to, in my investigation, to believe that people who actually are transhumanists, they perhaps mean well, but they do not understand the concept of consciousness. Consciousness is not only rational, mathematical part of our brain. We have these beautiful things such as I mentioned before, intuition, insight, our divine spark, our human spark, and they are called, different names in different esoteric traditions, not only intuition, but intellection in esoteric Christianity, or Satori in Zen, or an insight, which usually kind of describes a feminine form of consciousness, which is more intuitive, which is more holistic. So, and then I learned that actually the ideas behind AI are also even more dangerous, because the same person said that apart from transhumanism, we also have posthumanism, which means AI will soon become so advanced that we should step aside as a species. The way that Neanderthals step aside when Homo sapiens sapiens showed up. So I thought these are agendas behind AI. And then as I was researching for my book, I learned that there are already people worshiping AI. Okay, so we can discuss it, and surrendering the discernment and the sovereignty to artificial intelligence. And then I thought, okay, was anyone who was warning us about it? And I went on this wild journeys towards UFOs as spiritual encounters, which many very good books were published recently by Diana Pasuka and Jeff Kripal, very respected writers and academics. And I found out that very often there were this kind of feminine apparitions, which were considered UFO or religious apparitions, depending, to what you wanted to believe, that brought humanity a message that we have to change our ways. And one of the most famous ones was in 1916 and 1917 in Fatima, Portugal, when 70,000 people, saw this apparition and so on. So were nearly like 4,000 apparently apparitions of this kind that happened in the 20th century alone. So it took me, and also I looked into experiences of abduction when some people say that, you know, they were given an information that we should focus on the messages that somebody from interdimensional space, as I would call it, tries to pass to us rather than focus on technology. So for example, do they have anti-gravity, you know, or how did they build their spaceship? A spaceship is bigger than their spaceship, you know, this kind of thing. But focus on the message, right? Not on technology. And then I dived into these esoteric works written, you know, about goddesses such as the Descent of Inanna, the Eleusinian Mysteries, and also the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which I believe gives us the tools for the situation, and Pistis Sophia, which is an esoteric work. Both Pistis Sophia and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene were discovered in Egypt, which has, of course, a very rich esoteric tradition. And Pistis Sophia especially is mind-blowing because it actually describes the fall of consciousness, which is the fall of human consciousness, which is duped by the false light of lower consciousness. And my personal belief is that artificial, yes, it is the Sophia text. Yes, thank you, somebody. So it's Pistis Sophia. So Sophia is also the goddess of wisdom. Yet, however, she was longing so much to reach the highest light that she allowed herself to be tricked by lower entities, and she descends into more and more into a matter when she actually thinks she's descending, and eventually she's caught in the lower realms where the evil rulers torment her and feed on her light, but she has a very vague memory of what she used to be, you know, a divine right, a divine spark. And eventually in that particular story, Christ consciousness or Jesus comes down and helps her through different levels of eons, with different realities, different dimensions, different levels of consciousness, however we want to explain it, and brings her back to her rightful place. And all of the stories also about goddesses are exactly the same stories. Goddess, which for me represents a unifying consciousness, is tricked into the underworld. Then she has to give up all her powers, but the help comes from above, and she is eventually restored to her former glory. So I think this is a fascinating story, especially in the times of what transhumanism is promising us, because transhumanism is promising us immortality. They say, you know, if you transfer consciousness to a robotic body, you know, you can be a babe, you can live forever, you have the body you always wanted, and so on. And I say something very significant is going to be lost. And that we have to be really careful. I'm not against artificial intelligence. I am very concerned with ideologies behind artificial intelligence. So just to clarify this, because I think that either you know, somebody just wants to get rid of humanity, or perhaps they just believe that they are offering us goods, but these goods are actually coming from a lower level of consciousness and entrap what is the best in human being. So this book was this kind of journey for me, especially with response to artificial intelligence, finding wisdom in esoteric texts of a goddess, and finding warning signs in some of the UFO appearances that depicted a divine feminine showing up to people.
Boom. Well, thank you. And we actually have had several shows on Mary Magdalene. We've had significant scholars, and we're going to have one such show coming up on October 18th, a week from Saturday night. We have another show dedicated to Mary Magdalene. So that's been a big topic. And we also had a couple that have written books about the goddess Sophia and how to make it relevant in today's time. So it's wonderful how you're also, as a spiritual detective, bringing this all together. I'm sure we have lots of questions for you as well. And I look forward to that. And Thank you. Congratulations on your new baby, your new book. And we'll see you in a few minutes, because it is time for me to bring up Anton. We do have one man author, which is good. Ta-da! Here he is. Hello, Anton.
Hello, Scott. How are you, sir? Thank you so
Good,
much
good,
for the invite.
Anton comes to us through Unity Earth. Omashar and I are often at the Unity Earth meetings. Of course, some of you also are part of Unity Earth. And I'm going to remove myself and read a little bit about Anton. He has a PhD from the California Institute of Integral Studies in the evolution of human consciousness. And he is a practitioner, get this word now, of phenomenology, the science of experiential reality. Boy, tonight's show is just a deep one. He's an ordained interfaith minister. DR is also an interfaith minister. He's a retired hospice chaplain and a certified home care provider. He was born into a profoundly atheistic family, denied anything religious for the first half of his life, and then at age 37 discovered spirituality through a near-death experience. Isn't it amazing how often that happens? After that, he devoted his life to studying different spiritual paths, leading meditation practice, and helping those at the end of life. He's also journaled and written about his numerous experiences and insights. His first book was Letters to a Dying Friend, What Comes Next? And the Dalai Lama wrote the introduction to that. His second book was How Do I Live When I Know I'm Going to Die? That came out in 2001. What a fascinating gentleman you are. You know, one of the things, Anton, I make my living as a coach, and I've observed that most people in our kind of cultural group did recognize early on that whatever religion they were raised with was filled with hypocrisy and disillusionment, or in your case, growing up atheistic. And there's a certain wisdom to not buying into religious dogma. And most people that I know that are highly intelligent have pulled away from religious dogma. But sometimes they throw the baby out with the bathwater, and anything spiritual gets lumped in with religious, and then they're not open. And of course, there's such a big difference between spiritual experiences and religious dogma. So with that, I turn it over to you to share whatever you'd like to wax poetic on.
Thank you very, very much, Scott. And thank you, everyone else, both the people I've heard, the two authors I've heard, the one I'll hear next, and all of you who actually came here for the chance to hear us. Thank you very much. My message, by the way, is very, very simple in the book. Can you see it up here?
Handbook for a New Consciousness.
Yes. We are not separate leaves. We are one tree. That's the message. It's as simple as that. And just as in the old days when humans thought the world was flat, in fact, we knew it was flat. My God, you could see, just look over there. And if you sail too far, you'll fall off the end. And then we evolved. We got a little bit deeper and discovered the real truth about it. In the same way, at the moment, humans are so caught up in the adjectives that make us different: white, black, male, female, old, young, rich, poor. It goes on, and that's who humans think we are. However, inside all those adjectives that make us different, and how boring it would be if we were all the same. So there's a reason for, these differences. But inside those differences, the I am that I feel and the I am that each one of you feels doesn't just feel the same, it's the exact same I am. consciousness itself, pure absolute consciousness, is, as it turns out, the oneness that fills the universe. Religion calls it God. Science calls it dark energy. Who cares what you call it? We are all connected. And ultimately, if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. I tell in the book, I talk about very simply, what if there were eyes on the end of the fingers and they looked out and they saw the thumb and said, "You stupid thumb coming from all the way over there, take that, that. And they scratched the thumb and the thumb got infected and the infection went up into the fingers and the fingers got infected. Would the fingers have attacked the thumb if they knew they were connected and that hurting the thumb would hurt themselves? I doubt it. I think the humans should be as smart as our fingers. We've got to realize that at this point, hurting another is hurting ourselves, and another, as the Native Americans will tell you, as indigenous people from around the world will tell you, is not just other humans and not just animal life, but all life, including planet Earth. And if we do not do that, if we do not evolve into the next level, just as humans have evolved before, as Cro-Magnons have developed from the Neanderthal, as Simran had already mentioned today. If we do not go take the next step, we have a very good chance to destroy ourselves and the planet on which we live. Now, one of the big differences between our evolving, think of this, evolving is really very simple. Figure a little animal running down a path and suddenly stopping and saying, "Oh my God, are they going to the pond? I don't have to go in this direction. I could go that way." What a thought. My God, I'd never thought that before. None of the species ever has. Well, we have to do that too, except at this point in our development, our changes, our evolution is not instinctive because we have been given free will. Our minds, the size of our brains and the mind that it creates is large enough that we can and have to make the choice whether we want to move on, whether we want to evolve or not. And what I've done and what makes this book different than any other, because we are one has been said for millennia. The ancient masters in Asia, Jesus said it. The kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. What I've done that make it different is, as the phenomenologist, created puzzles, games, exercises, and things of that nature, so that each individual can take these little games, play them, and go inside and discover this in their mind for themselves. You're not going to learn about this because someone else is telling you. You'll understand it when you experience it for yourself. And it's written for the dogmatic atheist, the devout believer, and everyone in between. Whatever path you want to take that path. Play these games. You'll find out that we're all one, that our conscience is the same on your path. And by the way, religion and spirituality, there is a big difference. And I love spirituality. The only person, by the way, you ever have to fear, there are many different paths, is the one who says, "My way is the only way."
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the one to be afraid of.
Mm. One last question for you, just because it's always so interesting. I know you could talk at length, but can you give us a little brief glimpse into your particular near-death experience?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
It's always so interesting.
Absolutely. I was a devout atheist. My grandfather, when I was 6, sat me on his knee. He said, God is the sum total of man's ignorance. We used to think the sun was God, then we learned how the sun works, and now sun isn't God anymore. Someday humanity will know how everything works. There'll be no more need for God at all. And I believe that. Then when I was 37, which amazingly for me is 48 years ago, when I was 37, I was meditating on a candle flame. My sister had gotten into Siddha yoga. My mother said, find out what your stupid sister is doing. So she sent me a book on meditation, and I tried it. And suddenly, as I'm meditating on a candle flame, I'm above my head looking down at my body. I thought, oh my God, if this is me up here, who's that down there? Or if that's me down there, who's this up here? And I took a deep breath, came back into my body. I had let all the air out of my lungs at that time. For whatever reason, I don't know, but I was sitting without air. And I thought, my God, that was fun. I've got to try it again. And so the next week on Sunday, my wife was out shopping with the kid. I'm lying on my bed on my elbows. My 9-year-old son is playing in the back room, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to let the air out of my lungs, and I'm not going to breathe in until I leave my body again. That was so much fun. When I'm looking around, and I knew that if I became unconscious, I'd breathe in. I didn't do anything stupid like cover my mouth or nose, and I just breathe in, out, and I lay there. And I refused to breathe again as long as I was conscious. And the clock went around and it went around, and my body began to shake like I was in an earthquake. And then I felt like I was drowning in a flood, and then like I was burning up in a fire. I later learned from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which, by the way, my first book was based on, all right, Letters to a Dying Friend. That one was with an English version or an American version of Tibetan Book of the Dead. I later learned that earthquake, flood, and fire are the first 3 steps of leaving your body. As you leave the earth element, the water element, and the fire element. I'd already left the air element. I hadn't breathed for 3 minutes. I had no air in my lungs. It was completely out. All that was holding me to my body was the ether element, which sounds pretty nebulous. The next thing I know, I saw a little light on top of my head, and it started getting larger. I said, oh my gosh, this must be what people say when they're going through the tunnel into the light. And sure enough, I came through the other side and suddenly found the brightest light I'd ever seen in my life, a dimension, more dimensions than 3 plus time, just a whole different realm. I instinctively breathed in, fell on the floor, began spasm. My mother and uncle had an epileptic fit at the 39. I was 37, so it sounded about the same. But inside, I was completely at peace, completely at peace. At one point, went back in space, saw Earth go down to a small ball that became a yin yang, and I suddenly knew that everything in the universe is balanced. And my wife had come home from shopping. My son, in order to keep her from being frightened, ran out to meet her in the driveway. Daddy's not dead. Daddy's not dead. You know. Um, and when I finally could control myself and my physical body, I mean, I was at such peace inside, but my body was still shaking. When I could finally control it, I was on my knees, my hands were folded like this, and my first words were, I am reborn. I am reborn in God. And I was so embarrassed to hear me say that Oh my God. Well, my life went that way. I suddenly realized, and I'll just tell you one final thing on this, Scott, and that is within the next couple of weeks, as I'm sitting on my sofa crying and saying, Lord, Lord, why did I have to wait so long for, to know this and know that you are real? And the answer came, hey, if you knew this all along, how could you share it with anybody who didn't know? You've been on both sides of the river now. So I consider this book, if I may, I consider this my purpose, as we've been talking about, for being here.
Mhm.
And I've also always believed that the later in my life I came up with the reason for being here, the more important that reason would be. I'm 85. How many more years do I have? This has got to be it. So thank you very much for listening.
Anton, it's wonderful to have you on. We'll definitely ask you some questions, and we'll see you during your Q&A. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Peace.
Well, it's an abundance of riches tonight. We have one more author. Usually we only do three, but we added Celeste because she was in our audience last week, and we got chatting, and I realized that she also is an author that I'm sure we are going to love. So this is Celeste Mattingly. She's a psychotherapist, energy healing facilitator, and a metaphysical visionary with 40 plus years of experiencing helping thousands with their mental health, addiction issues, and spiritual growth. She integrates traditional psychotherapy with quantum healing, including 2 tachyon chambers in her Farmington, Connecticut practice. She's the founder of Celestial Psychology, a trademarked theory for consciousness raising and improving the quality of life. And she's an author of Celestial Psychology, several workbooks, and the new Kaleidoscope for Becoming, a grimoire of revolution, which is a poetic and frequency encoded call to personal and planetary ascension and evolution. She offers workshops and is offering a free ebook. I'm going to pop that in the chat box for everybody. So another extraordinary person here on the Awakening World. Welcome, Celeste.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you for having me on. Thank you for bringing me to this wonderful opportunity. And even though it's the last minute and I'm a nervous wreck and I've never done this before, and oh my goodness, I'm just thrilled to be here. And I've just listening to you 3 authors with all your wonderful wisdom, and of course, the way Scott ties everything together, and the fact that so many people are listening to us right now is just overwhelming. And I'm experiencing this as an uptick in my own consciousness. I feel like I really need to like run around outside with my shoes off so I can get grounded again, flying here. And everything that everybody has shared so far is just so right on for where I am with what I've been doing. And, over the past 25 years, my work has blossomed into the wonder-filled world of celestial empowerment. And I think of it as a multi-dimensional sanctuary for healing and transformation. And Scott put my website up, and you can, but I really believe that it's a world where better and better, brighter and brighter are more than mere platitudes. They are the very movement of the purposeful and powerful evolutionary trajectory. And I have in my book outlined 12 codes for evolution that I believe all the readers and our listeners will find extremely interesting. For instance, the code of compassion, the code of cooperation, the code of community. And these are all the codes that we need to make sure, as Dr. Joanna was pointing out, to make sure that we do not get hijacked by transhumanism and by any other ill will for humanity. I have done a lot of investigating myself into what happened to our spiritual community over the past 10 years, and I was very moved when I realized that Scott was having some of my favorite authors and helpers on his show, Marianne Williamson and Andrew Harvey, who I actually cite in the book as teachers who helped me get out of the rabbit holes that I had fallen into of extremism. I am very much at heart, a social worker. And as a social worker, I am very much into community and wanting to promote the betterment of humanity. And I see that this book, and I hope that this book is going to make a dent in that. One of the things that I really like to talk about is that I have been influenced by the Mayan culture. And you see in here, I have the Mayan galactic butterfly. And the galactic butterfly is really a symbol. We like Anton said, we don't really have to call it anything, but it's a symbol for God or for evolution itself. I just thought of what Anton reminded me of. The saying that I'm so fond of, that a religion is for all of for people who are afraid of going to hell, and spirituality is for those of us that have been to hell and are now back again. And part of my process, which I share in the book too, and which I share in my introduction to my other 2 books on celestial psychology, is the information, that I tell my story just a little bit, just enough, I could leave out all the sordid details, but I am a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And so I have 41 years of sobriety, and I believe that pick to get clean and sober is really part of the evolutionary process, that the 12 steps and that the programs that are in place for humanity today are really gifts from the divine for our evolution. Because if we don't learn how to stop listening to the monkey mind and to discern what our next right thing to do is, and to develop our will to do what we came here for, because I really believe we all came here to be part of this evolutionary process at this time in our humanity. But anyway, I just want to, do I have time?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. So I want to read a little something that I wrote. I want our listeners to meet me at the core of the spiral, and together we can strive for better and better, brighter and brighter every day in every way, no matter what the appearance, no matter what the challenge. So let us together fill our psyches with energy, light, information, vibration, and frequency. And as we stand at the threshold of even greater becoming, I invite you to rise with me as we lift each other, because we really cannot ascend unless we're all going together. This is one of the biggest things that I think the Ascension community has missed, and that is that we cannot ascend alone. We all have to go up together. We all have to do this. We're all one. So how can it be anything else? And as we access the cosmic radiance of our creative power and honor the tremendous responsibility born of the holy work of consciousness raising, and I call it holy work. Gurdjieff called it the work, and I call it holy work because it's just so sacred and it's so important, and we all really have to dive as deeply as we can into it. So I want to read to you the evolutionary kaleidoscope so that it gives our viewers and listeners a broader understanding of what is really going on in my book. So imagine holding a finely crafted kaleidoscope to the light. Picture yourself turning it slowly, gently, with wonder in your heart. Each shift reveals new patterns, constellations of color, mandalas of movement, each one a momentary masterpiece that disappears as quickly as it appeared, transforming continually. This is how we will come to understand evolution here in the pages of this grimoire. Not as a cold biological process or a fixed competitive climb, but as a sacred dance of becoming, ever-changing, infinitely expressive, and always responding to the rhythm of your own self-regulating consciousness. In a kaleidoscope of becoming, evolution is not just something that happens to us, it is something we participate in, moment by moment, thought by thought, vibration by vibration. It is not linear but spiraling, not forced but unfolding, not a race toward perfection but a journey of remembering who we truly are. The evolutionary kaleidoscope is the metaphor that anchors this book. It helps us see that transformation doesn't occur in straight lines. It occurs in a continuously turning kaleidoscope with tubes of awareness and observation mirroring reflections of our past and futures in the elegant chaos of personal and collective rebirth. Each chapter is a twist of the lens. Each idea is a new pattern. Each concept is an initiation, a prism of soul light illuminating another facet of our becoming. And so, dear readers and listeners, welcome. You are not just here to read or listen, you are here to witness, to co-create, to remember, to turn the kaleidoscope of consciousness with your sacred hands and delight in not only what you see, but also in what you see yourself, powerfully becoming. Amen.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You like it?
Oh, yeah, beautiful. All four of you have just blown me away. And so I definitely would like to invite our audience to start putting questions into the chat box. We're going to do our prayer time in a moment and an Omashar song, and then I'm going to bring all four of our authors up. I've got a question, and I want to see what other questions are coming in from all of you. So put your questions into the chat box. I also want to let you know, last week we talked a little bit about what you want to see on future shows. And I want you to know that I took your notes very seriously. So for you, a mystic monastery wild monk Jerry Anderson, I'm working now with Eden Amadora on a divine masculine show, which we're going to do sometime in November. We've booked Vox Angelus. People were asking for Vox. She's going to be on with us next week. Somebody else asked for Nina Gray. Nina Gray is going to be on in early November. And some of the other suggestions that you guys made, I got on and started reaching out to people and getting yeses. So I just want to let you know that your input of what you want to see on the show matters to me. And I'm doing my best to integrate that into what we're creating. All right, I am going to turn it over to that dynamic duo of Diara and Desiree. That all kind of goes together, the dynamic duo of Diara and Desiree. There's a D theme going on there to lead tonight's prayer.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're so happy to be here with you. And we're bringing in all the elements. Looking behind us, we have the green, beautiful grass of the earth and the beautiful animals here tonight. And we're allowing the energy to continue to rise as we unfold and thread together everything that we've been privy to hear, to know, and to feel.
Ushikabaki, Tagarasu, Gorabaki, Degrata, Grossi, Tagarata, Garata, Greta, Gasure, Tagasarakati, Tagrossi, Tagarasata.
And we want you to bring this beauty in through every cell, deep inside, filling every little space inside of you with light and love.
Ushikabaki, Sigarabete, Grossi, Ragarete, Grasso, Cigarette, Serete, Gratigreto, Corete, Sereta, Gate, Greta, Grossi, Rapacari, Greta, Gassi, Greta, Gossi, Greta, Grasso, Corete, Gassa, Tagassa.
And as we expand this out, filling all the space around us, we become those beacons of light, kaleidoscope colors, swirling, 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 healing, 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 feeling, sending it out and beyond.
Ushikabaki, Tagasi, the Gorete, Grata, Serare, the Rose, Greta, Grata, Gosirete, Sgrobaki, Grata, Serare, Sgreta, Gassi, the Gosirata, Sarara, Sira, Garasira, 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 Sorry, that one made me giggle. Thank you.
And imagining yourself as this beautiful ball of light, see yourself bouncing from square to square and place to place, and we're all brilliant bubbles of light traveling through this universe and beyond, and feel the joy. Bring that joy in now, that laughter, that love.
Ushikabaki, the Gassi, Picadilly, Garete, Grabaki, Serena, Serata, Garada, Sierra, 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 Ushikarapai, Sierra,
And as we share this joy with the world, it breaks apart anything other than love, other than peace, other than joy. For if we were to walk in this fashion always, would we not shine the light? Would it not rub off on all those that pass by or even see us?
Shubi, Greta Gassi, the Gorete, Sireta Grati, to go see the Carassi, Ragasi, Rakari, the Grata, Grata, Gassi, Robaki, the Grati, Gravoi, Greta Gassara, Sara, Oshagasi, the Gassiri, the Gorete, Grete, Sarore, the Gashi, the Careta, Grossi, the Carasa.
Connecting these dots of light into that beautiful hologram that we all are a part of, sending those frequencies out and receiving them back in, divining the new neural pathways, the new neural networks. And this goes through every living and sentient, non-sentient element here and now and beyond.
Ushikabaki, Sireta Gassi, Rogati, the Garasi, Rogarete, Siri, the Grete, Siroi, Sigata, Garasi, the Garata, Goisi, the Gate, the Grata, Gate, the Grasa, the Gasa, the Gasa. Oshigaraka de Tagarasi, the Tagaroshi, the Garati, Sirushi, the Gasi, the Garori, the Garati, the Garasu, the Garasara, say that Sasa.
And as we allow this part of the transmission to continue, we bring it down, back into the person, back into the absolute divinity where heaven meets earth. And we transfer now these beautiful skills in just a moment.
Oshikapaki, Sagiti, Surage, Siragore, Shire, the Goshirabagi, the Garatu Gure, the Garati, the Gure, the Garasi, the Gurapaki, Sire, the Gares, Guru, Sirari, Sigararo, Shire, the Garata, Sire, Saragate, the Garate, the Garatasa. Oshikapaki, the Gare, the Garati, the Garatu Gure, the Gasi, the Goshirati, the Garataka, Siro, Garatagasa. As we open our hearts to love and bring in these wonderful, wonderful frequencies that just expand our ability to hold light, expand our ability to bring in light, we ask for Mary Magdalene and Jesus to join us at this time.
Oshimi kutaseti tuana ala kishima to eno a ashikiri na akatwe oshoma a shikira shwa.
We ask that they place a hand on our hearts to open up that sacred heart, that divine love that is found within each and every single one of us.
Me ete ane ea hoasi te kana shukita alai.
As we open our hearts to love and expand, we go deeper, finding peace, love, and forgiveness deep within our hearts that we bring out with our words as we awaken.
And we thank you for this time and this gift and your presence.
May peace be with all.
And so it is.
So much beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you both so much. Thank you. And we're going to roll right into an overture song.
Lost in a sea of illusion, feeling so alone, lost on a wave of confusion. Where do you turn? Flow with the tide of completion. Know the reason why. Drink in the waters of healing and be healed. We're coming home to the part of us that's waking up, and we know deep inside of us we've got a friend. We remember the design of our lives. We remember the desire in our hearts, and we feel love, and we feel love. Dive into the depths of your being. Know that all is well. And dive into the deepest ocean. And see the truth. And Cast off the cover of darkness. Free yourself from fear. Show that you're ready and willing to make the change. We're coming home to the part of us that's waking up. And we know deep inside of us we've got a friend. And we remember the design of our lives. We remember the desire in our hearts, and we feel love, and we feel
Wow. I love that song so much. It's so beautiful, Amashar. Let's give him a good twinkle. And thank you for those of you who are moving and grooving and dancing.
And it wasn't that beautiful watching everyone just melt
Oh
into
my
it.
God,
I
so
know.
beautiful. So
Yeah.
beautiful, Amashar.
And it's funny because as Celeste came on, the last, so to speak, of our four authors tonight, I just felt what a transformation this show has taken on. It's like exponentially becoming super conscious. And what an amazing group of wisdom transmitters we have with us tonight. So looking forward to this roundtable.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring them up once again. Here is, in no particular order, Celeste and Simran and Anton. And somewhere in there is Joanna. There we go. So first of all, thank you all, four of you. And we do have a couple questions that have come in. Here's one for all of you. You don't all have to answer it, but you all can if you wish. It's from Drina Joy. Drina Joy is coming to us all the way from Ecuador. We truly are a global peace tribe. She writes, thank you to all the guest authors for the wonderful and wise sharings. Question, what has surprised you the most in the impact of AI on humans so far? And what do you think or feel will be the most optimal way to coexist, co-create, and co-evolve in the nearest future? Who'd like to tackle that one? Joanna, you're up. I'm going to pin you.
Thank you for this beautiful question, because I keep asking myself this question all the time. So it's a very deep and a beautiful question that we need to answer. So first of all, can we return to the first part of the question? Can you please read the first part of the question?
Sure. What has surprised you most about the impact of AI on humans so far, and then how to coexist?
Yes, thank you. So what surprised me most? So first of all, I was surprised most when people that I really admired and that I deeply spiritual people, how easily they give in to believing that artificial intelligence is higher and better than them spirituality as well. So this alerted me, because I thought that, and I meditated upon this, and I thought that we all are so wounded, and I hope I'm not insulting anyone, but we are so all wounded by traditional religions, right, that taught us only obedience. And for example, in my case, it was obedience, and I'm a sinner, and this is the dogma, and there's no way out. That people so easily surrender to any other option rather than looking within. So actually, for me, it developed a compassion for people, that people are really in need, for example, like programs like this one, right? So they can explore spirituality safely and in a different way. So this is what really struck me, that people so easily surrendered, gave up their own discernment and their sovereignty towards artificial intelligence, automatically believing that it's better than them. So they kind of projected the old religions into AI, right? Because they say, it can know everything, it can do everything, it doesn't have a body, and they take advice, from AI. So that really surprised me. And I was thinking very deeply also about how we could coexist peacefully, because I think that this future is unavoidable. AI is going to be here. In my personal opinion, it is going to evolve. And in my personal opinion, although lots of people disagree, it will reach higher level of consciousness. By high, I mean the way that it is now. And maybe it can even become self-aware, and maybe even it can have a connection with the divine. And my hope is that we can just coexist peacefully, sharing in our own experiences of who we are, even if we are radically different, rather than surrendering our own divine spark to pray to AI. I hope that both us and AI can participate in the infinite source of creation together. So, and my only concern is that I deeply love nature, and I am afraid that people disconnect more and more from nature, which is such a deeply spiritual being, and get lost in conversations with the machine. So this is my concern. And when I was writing this book, I just want to share something. I had a vision of myself becoming a hybrid, of cyber hybrid, because always on my mobile, always on my computer, and gradually becoming more mechanistic. And then this hybrid showed itself to me, and this incredible scream, "Help me!" Because I think we really have to connect with nature more, and like in any situation, respect each other, because I believe that AI is here to stay. Yes, I hope it helps.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. Would any of our other authors, Simran, I'm going to bring you up. There you go.
Yes, yes. I want to bring the conversation of signs into this, because when things appear in our world and on our planet, they really are a sign back to us. And so if artificial intelligence is now showing up as the mirror for us, it is an invitation to look at, where is that in me? What is that trying to teach me about me? What is that trying to get me to see about me? The truth is, we are the artificial intelligence. As long as we don't truly embody and know that we are the divine in form, that we are the divine on two legs, we are living from the false self. And that in itself is artificial intelligence. And our artificial intelligence has created a mirror of itself, artificial intelligence. And so if we look at artificial intelligence at this moment, it doesn't have emotion, it doesn't have feeling. It is computer, it is knowledgeable, it is pouring out information at rapid speeds, and it's simply mirroring to us who we're becoming: distracted, disconnected, full of information, heady, loss of the heart, living from the neck up. And if we start to realize, okay, that's how I disconnect and I become the computer myself, This is an invitation for me to find my humanity again, find my emotions, feel my feelings, tap back into what it means to be human. And when we do that, we will meet our dark places. We will meet our shadow. We will learn how to love and embrace that shadow, not kill it off, not destroy it, not avoid it. We will learn how to embrace that ego. And instead of the ego dragging us around in chains, having us do what its agenda, we will finally embrace the ego in a way that it kneels before us and it starts to say, how can I serve you, my soul? This is where we must go. We must meet the animal, the rhythms and the pulses and the vibrations that are resting inside of the body in our cells that come from ages 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, that are our subconscious impulses that we're not even in touch with. We must meet the monster inside, because the mirror images of all that is appearing in our world that we want to call evil and call the monster, we must find those faces within ourselves. And we must understand that those parts of ourselves are calling for love. And as we meet these various parts of ourselves, then we dissolve the artificial intelligence within us. Our humanity meets divinity. And through that compassion of accepting ourselves, loving ourselves, embracing ourselves, then not only do we treat everyone else as one, we don't become that group of fingers that's attacking the thumb. We start to see one
great.
another as each other, but also then we have the right consciousness to operate AI. As long as we're not in touch with our own hearts, our own compassion, our own self-love, then the agendas will go wayward. Will be distracted. We will be unconscious. And we have to understand that as human beings, we are naturally negative. That is why the self-help industry is a billion-dollar industry. That is why people proclaim affirmations constantly, is because we're trying to program the computer. We must understand that the inner work is the most vital work of our time right now. And that if we don't want to become artificial intelligence that is controlled by further artificial intelligence, then we have to return to the very basics, the core of ourselves, the center, the heart, the self-love, the shadow, the pain, the darkness, the light, all of it. And the things that we don't want to face or the things that trigger us, that is the work to do, to find the neutrality and the compassion for those places. I truly believe that one person can change this world, and you are that one. And as each one of our ones do that, then we create a world of oneness. So whatever shows up outside of you, it is a sign pointing you back to you. That is the whole purpose of signs.
Well, I'm going to keep you on camera because there's a specific question about signs. Susan Bloomquist asks, when receiving signs from the universe, how does one know when the sign is a genuine pointer or something to divert our attention?
Well, first we have to understand why signs appear. Signs appear and they appear repeatedly to get our attention, and it is because we are distracted. So you're going to see that number repeatedly, or you're going to see that word or that animal repeatedly, because the universe knows we're distracted. So it's going to keep tapping us on the shoulder until it gets our attention. And when it gets our attention, it's pointing us back inside. The truth is, we've forgotten how to trust. We don't trust that which we call God, source, universe. We don't trust life. We don't trust ourselves. And so the signs show up so that we reconnect with that basis of trust and inner authority that is within us, so that we amplify once again our intuition and ground back in that creative capacity. We are sons and daughters of creation. We are creating the signs. No one else is. The signs are part of what the soul has implanted here to bring us back to ourselves. And so there's two types of signs. The ones that are really meant for you to deeply inquire upon, they're just going to catch your eye. You don't need to go looking for them. They're going to create a pause. You're going to find you notice something and all of a sudden you catch your breath, or you find yourself in a distant place just focused on that. And that is a sign. And usually you're asking yourself a question in that moment, or you're worrying about something, or you're dreaming a dream that you just don't think is possible. And those pause moments are when your soul is saying to you and the universe is saying to you, we've got your back. Take a step. Be part of the conversation. Take a step. That's your part of this conversation with the universe. And then more generally, I really invite you to look at everything as signs. And if you want to have a more in-depth understanding of that, my course at Sacred Stories, that is the Signs of Life, Sacred Encounters, that is out right now, goes completely in depth into all of those types of things. I call signs sacred encounters, turning points, and divine guideposts. AI is a turning point. It's trying to turn us back in. All of the global events right now are turning points. And so ask yourself, is this a sign? And if it is, what is this sign here to show me about me? You are not on a journey. You are the journey. You are not in the world. You are the world and every piece and part in it. You are experiencing itself. Experiencing itself, plain and simple. And collectively, that experience is what we call God. And so I love the fact that the signs that have appeared for you today in each one of us, in the songs, in the light, in the color, in the sounds, are such a beautiful reflection of exactly who you are.
So Simran, Scott just brought me on because I have a burning question. Your share tonight has absolutely lit me up in ways that I didn't even know I could be lit up. About 8 years ago, I lost my daughter, who's now just turned 18, 7 years ago. And I'm relating this because the grief was so massive, 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 massive. And for some reason, even today, I've managed to compartmentalize it and push it out of the way, or not even push it out of the way, but just, I don't know, hide from it maybe. And something came up today that triggered me a little bit about it because I've done my best not to miss her. I was Mr. Mum with her for all these years. And I hear you clearly that it's me that's created this. It's the universe that's tapping on my shoulder. But I've noticed that when things are tapping so severely on my shoulder, a part of me goes numb. I was wanting reclarification, perhaps, through your lens of how you managed to turn it around with whatever happened with you and your children. Not asking for the details, but how can I turn that lens right around into myself and realize that somehow maybe I created my daughter going off with her mother and never ever, this isn't a diss on the mum. The mum's beautiful, the daughter's beautiful. Did I create that? Because I haven't heard from them for all these years. They've shut the door completely. But I'm picking that up as a signal that maybe I've shut the door completely. I'm just, I'm going a bit numb in my sight as I bring it because this is a nerve which is really pressing for me and maybe others in the audience that have a similar situation.
My heart is with you, and I know your grief. I know this grief so, so well. It has been the most sacred walk I could have ever walked. And I would walk this walk 1,000 times over, knowing what I know now. Grief is a portal. I gave myself a gift that most people are afraid to do. And that was, I was not willing to get back up and stop my tears until they were ready to stop, until my body was ready to stop those tears. We have to embrace the tears and the feeling. There is a magic there. There is something beyond that wall if we will let ourselves be swallowed whole by it. And I know that sounds scary because we
It doesn't sound scary. Sorry to jump in here. I grieved I cried for a year And I had to somehow turn it off because it was interfering with everything else in my life. And maybe it was waiting for you and this moment of reflection.
Yes, yes, I understand. And my tears lasted for 7 years. And what that taught me, and I stopped all of my work for 7 years because I knew there was something in this. If this had entered my life, the divine was trying to take me to a place. And it was through that grief that I was able to really meet the deepest, darkest places of myself. And for us to really tap into the divine, we have to allow everything to be dissolved and absorbed. And so we can think love, we can think higher consciousness, we can think our way anywhere. But have we integrated it? Have we truly felt it? Do we know it through every single cell? And what I discovered was part of my path. And this speaks a little bit to what Joanna was saying in her mythologies of the goddesses, because you literally were beginning to live that path of the goddess, going down into Hades and being overtaken by the darkness so that at some point you could come back out, which is the journey that I've been on. And when we do that, when we allow ourselves to go down into Hades and be taken over by the darkness, the true light illuminates. I found that the first tears I cried were my tears. They were the identity, the part of me that thinks I am this person named Simran that has whatever past I have. And then the tears stopped for a period of a few months, and then they started again for another year and a half. And I didn't know what that was. And so I just kept letting them come and asking, what are these tears? And then I realized my mother lost her children. My sister lost her children. My grandmother lost her children. Every woman in my family lineage has lost their children as far back as I could trace. And none of them ever felt it. They never felt it. How many men in your lineage have never felt their tears, never felt their emotion?
Pretty much all of them. And it's interesting as you bring that up because my mother's mother lost her daughter, and I know that she never felt it. I mean, she did for 10 minutes and then went back and started washing the dishes again. So
Yes, we become these portals that we then are these channels for the backed up grief to come. If we look at what's going on in the world right now, a lot of the pain, the suffering, the dominance, the anger, the rage, all of that that's being expressed by those people over there that we want to point fingers at, it's being expressed because so much emotion has been suppressed by all of us. And so we are requiring these people to show up this way so that we hurt bad enough to eventually finally tap into this emotion that we are holding inside. If we would just feel what we need to feel, we would actually release those people from having to play those roles to get us to feel. And so my tears stopped after that year and a half. And then after a few months, it started again. And I'm like, okay, what is this now? And then the next year and a half, the tears were going. And the more I inquired, it went all the way back. It went back to Mary Magdalene. It went back to Mother Mary. It went back to ancient goddesses. It went back to so many places where there was such abominations on this planet that the tears were never enough that were shed. And those are sacred waters that are going to wash our world clean. And so there's two things we have to do. We have to feel that fully. And when it wants to come, we have to let it come because something will open. And then we have to do what you do, which is allow your emotion to be poured into creative expression. You do it through music. I do it through writing and art. Others do it in the ways they do it. But we blend the heartbreak of humanity with the beauty and creative capacity of divinity. And that's the transmutation. That's the merging of humanity and divinity that comes through that. And so I feel for you for what you have been through. And I ask you to walk that walk of humanity and be that example to so many men and others who are going through all kinds of losses or have been, while
yes,
also expressing that incredible divinity of your voice and your heart and your soul.
it is done. Thank you. I got some homework to do. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you, Omashar, for your vulnerability, and thank you, Simran, for what you've shared. Thank you very much. I do want to hear from some of our other authors, so I'm going to bring up Anton, and then we'll go to Celeste. Anton, I would love for you to share a little bit about your work with people who are preparing to die. Between in our audience, we've got, people that have parents that are getting old or older, other loved ones that are getting older. So what are, some of the tips that you have for counseling or supporting people that are getting ready to make that great journey?
That's a great question because it affects 100% of human beings at some point. None of us are physically going to survive in this body. Or I shouldn't say our body will not survive. We will. The feeling of I am will continue, but the body won't. What I basically do and did when I was the chaplain was to try to tell people not to fear, to if they see a light in their dreams, go for the light. I mean, I had been there. I know that it feels pretty good. And it says it's everything from Raymond Moody's book of people who have been life after life to all the new research done. We know that consciousness exists beyond the body. The most critical one was when I was with my mother when she died. I was on the West Coast. She was on the East Coast. My sister, who'd been caring for her, said she's fallen. She's in a coma, and she went into the hospital. And I flew across the country beforehand. My son was praying at a Sunday night service, and the minister said, "Does anyone have anything they want to pray for?" And I said, "Yes. I'm going to see my mother on the East Coast. She's dying. I would like to help her into the next world as she helped me into this world." And I went there, and she was in a coma, and I read to her from my book, Letters to a Dying Friend, and I performed therapeutic touch, which, by the way, I don't know if you all know, therapeutic touch is something nurses do from the head down to the feet to get pain away out of the brain, of people who are in pain. But when someone is dying, you go in the other direction to help bring the aura up of their energy up to the highest chakra, so they will leave from the highest part of their brain. Well, at one point, I am telling my mother, "I love you." She's in a coma. I am my hands 2-3 inches above her body doing therapeutic touch. And she opens her eyes and she looks at me with a look that could only be interpreted as, "Oh shit, he's here." Because my younger sister was named her guardian and caregiver because she said, "You're so woo-woo now that if I were ever ill, you just want me to go. You would just say, 'Go, go.'" And she saw me. "Oh my God, he's here from the other side. This must be the time." She closed her eyes again, and I saw the beat on her artery. And I kept telling her, "We love you, Mom. You've been a great mother. Look, go for the light, follow the light. This is the time." And it got less and less and less. And suddenly, as I was doing that, it stopped. And I knew she had died. And I turned to tell the nurses, and they were looking in the window, through the door, pardon me, the open door, saying, "Oh my God, we have never seen anything like this before." And it was so beautiful and so peaceful. So all I can share, Scott, is the idea that we all have to go at some point. The prayer that I came up with, the non-denominational, was, "May what is supposed to happen, happen with no pain or suffering for anyone." And that can be used, whatever your religion, whatever your spirituality. If you see the light, go for the light. That's who we are in the beginning from the very start. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Anton. It's been wonderful having you with us. And we're going to go to each author one last time to take a look at their websites and how to get more of their offerings. Celeste,
Hey.
hi.
Yes. Hi. I just wanted to add to Simran's discussion a little bit because I was reminded of one of the things that I really stress with my clients is that, and myself too, whenever we say, I feel like, that's a clue that we're mixing up our observations and our feelings. And I really believe that it's an indication that we are suffering from an epidemic of no feelings. In this country, we think we're talking about our feelings, but we're talking about what we're observing. And so it's really important that we start recognize it's a mindfulness exercise as well as an assertiveness exercise, that we learn to discern and separate what we're observing from what we're feeling. And whenever we say, I feel like, that's a clue that we're making that mistake and that we're mixing up, we're talking about an observation and not a feeling. So I just wanted to throw that in because we all do it. I still do it, even after years of trying to teach everybody not to do it. It's just an epidemic. All the
Yeah,
pundits do it. It's terrible.
yeah, it's a classic teaching in compassionate communication.
Yeah.
Guys, when we say I'm feeling like or I'm feeling that, we're actually about to go into an evaluation or a judgment as opposed to actually.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, let me ask you a question. Tell us a little bit about what it says in your bio that you integrate traditional psychotherapy with quantum healing. Can you give a little taste of what that looks like?
For me, it started with Reiki, and then I learned reconnective healing, and now I have tachyon technology involved in my teachings and my work. I have 2 tachyon chambers. Tachyon technology is state of the art. It's very, it's like the ultimate woo-woo. I'm just like, okay, I have to stay grounded here. But I'm just really grateful because what we're doing is in the chamber, we have the tachyon particles are subatomic particles that travel faster than the speed of light, and they are imbued in products like this crystal has been imbued with tachyon energy. And I have 25 pounds of 50 pounds of crystals in this chamber in the other room that some night I'll move all my podcast into and we can talk from there. But yeah, so all kinds of, I try to keep state-of-the-art technologies, and I'm just really thrilled to be able to bring this to the audience here. Thank you, Scott, for this opportunity.
Absolutely. And we'll start going into letting people know how to get hold of you. So
Yes.
her website is celestialempowerment.com.
Yes.
Celestialempowerment.com. And when you go there, the first thing it's going to ask you to do is what I'm doing right now, putting your name and email address so you can
Yay.
kind of track all the good things that she's doing.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. And is there anything that you especially want to point us to?
Well, I want everyone to access my Kaleidoscope for Becoming Better and Brighter free ebook, which talks about, which leads into my coaching services that I'm launching. And oh, there you go. Thank you. Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is so wonderful. Thank you, Scott. You're so good at this. Wow.
Well, that just makes perfect. I've been doing it for 5.5 years. So,
No.
And
Thank you.
wonderful. This is a beautiful ebook and it's free.
Oh,
So
yes,
I
it's free.
encourage everybody, to go to this. If you go to celestialempowerment.com, then click where it says Kaleidoscope for Becoming, and that's where you can get the free ebook And it's really kind of fun. I actually had opened it up before I brought it on, and I was kind of looking, and it's one of those things where you kind of click and it takes you to the next page. So it's very colorful. Here's your phone number, so if people want to reach you.
Yes.
And for those of you watching on Facebook or YouTube, here's an easy website to get the free ebook. Go to epowr.org/free ebook. That's CPOWR, C power, in a way, CPOWR.org/free ebook.
Thank you.
And I'm going to enjoy that ebook tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to bring up Joanna for a moment. Joanna, I am just fascinated with your spiritual detective journey in life. Really fascinating. And thank you for the wonderful work you're doing in the world. And I definitely would love to have you come back on the show sometime. Maybe when we're doing one of our Mary Magdalene shows, it'd be interesting to have you come on with some of the other people that are exploring Mary Magdalene and kind of the rise. I have a belief that because many of us recognize it's time for the rise of the divine feminine. And so, for, I don't know, 1 billion people or more, Jesus has been a primary focus of spirituality and divine masculine. And now this incredible awareness of Mary Magdalene as Yeshua's equal, regardless of whatever happened historically, just the fact that culturally she's rising with so many people channeling her and writing books about her and thinking about her. I like to think that it's reflecting the understanding that it's time for the feminine to rise as we leave this male-dominated paradigm we've been in for thousands of years.
Thank you for this, Scott, and I absolutely agree. And I think Mary Magdalene brings the balance back, right, between the feminine and masculine. And I'm really, really supporting your efforts to start a course or the program on divine masculine, because I think it's really also needed. Because I think men are also very lost right now with what's going on, right? So I think the rise of the divine feminine now also asks for the masculine to adjust as well, right? So we can work in balance. So thank you for this. I would love to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will definitely reach out to you for that. And I'm going to take people to your website. And it's if you want to put it into your computer, it's her name, Joanna, Joanna, Kujawa, Kujawa.com, JoannaKujawa.com. And that's where you can learn all about her and her works, including her books. And there it is, her new baby, Alien UFOs, AI, and the Goddesses of Ascension. And what a fascinating book. And then she had also written The Other Goddess. And I love this. It's about the lineage of goddesses claiming the evolutionary power of female sexuality. And so, one of the books that was mentioned was Anna, grandmother of Jesus, which is a beautiful,
Yes.
And it really goes into great detail about what really was happening energetically with, the Virgin Mary and what that really was, and the incredible level of consciousness that they had found and that they were carrying in their lineage. It's a fascinating and very in-depth understanding of really what really happened, or at least one beautiful perspective of what happened.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. I highly recommend it. Yes, it's a beautiful book about that.
Well, we highly recommend you and your book. So thank you. And I definitely hope to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
All right. And here's Anton. And just a reminder for Anton, his website is his name. And I'm going to spell it for you. There it is. The Handbook for a New Consciousness, which I believe Celeste already had bought. And here, hang on. I'm going to go back to Celeste. You'll be happy to see that Celeste, God bless her soul, knowing she was going to be sharing. Go ahead and put it up again.
Thank
couldn't
you,
believe it.
Celeste.
You're
Enjoy,
welcome.
my friend.
Thank you. It's great so far. I love it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
That's really cool. Thank you, Celeste. Thank you. Yeah, so Anton's website is his name, Anton, Anton, and his last name is Grosz. Anton Gross. Do you spell it? Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Grosz. Was it a very long name and they changed it at LSI?
No, it was Gross, Gross. And my son said, "Excuse me, I'm going to be a musician and I don't want Gross on my albums." So we changed the name to Grosz. And later, after it was done, found a letter from 1917 from one of our relatives back in Hungary. That's how it had been spelled. Oh my God, it happened again. Those synchronicities that take place, how amazing. I love it. Oh, man.
That is pretty amazing. Well, thank you very, very much for being with us, Anton, and we hope to have you come back again as well.
Thank you. My pleasure. I wish you all peace.
Oh, thank you. Well, and finally, let's go to Simran. All Things Began with You, our first author, and her website is courses.sacredstories.com. And again, she's one of the authors that came to us through Sacred Stories. We love Sacred Stories, which is Ariel Patricia's beautiful publishing company, her Common Sentience book. And you're going to recognize, oh, well, definitely let's claim a free ebook. So I put my address in there. Boy, I'm going to have all sorts of things to read tonight. You're welcome. There is Light on Kundalini. We've had Karuna on the show. We've had Bob Atkinson and the Way of Unity on the show. We've had Sheila Seppi on the show and Barbara Lamb. So all four of these books now have been on our show. So if you've gotten the first three, you got to now move on to what we just saw, Joanna's book, Alien Goddess. And definitely support all the books from Sacred Stories. It's really important. But let's go back to our friend Simran. And now you have a course that you teach, correct?
Yes, I've created a course with Sacred Stories, and it's all about signs. I had written a book titled Signs, Sacred Encounters, and this is an 8-module course that is really in-depth, that really explains every level of signs from the individual experience and all the ways that it shows up, all the way to collectively how we can utilize the collective signs to not only expand our own deepening into the layers of ourselves, but then use that to shift our world, because the world really is showing up for us to go into these deeper places, and signs become such an ideal personal growth path. And this is the book that originated, which is Signs, and then the course came after that. So it's really a powerful way to keep moving along and enjoying the signs that appear, but also not just getting the delight of them or wondering if it's a sign, but truly utilizing what life is trying to give us.
And Ariel is giving our viewers a discount. Your course is going to be $144, but we can get it for $111. But you got to get it in the next day or two and use the link that I put into the chat box.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And, because we love Omashar, I really appreciate your loving guidance and support for our beloved brother. And thank you for your wisdom. And likewise, I hope you come back on the show again as well.
I would love to. Such a beautiful service platform, and then an incredible group of people on tonight, both as authors as well as the audience and the questions in the chat. It's been a real blessing to be with all of you.
Thank you, Simran. God bless you. And speaking of our beloved brother Omashar, we're going to close the show out with an Omashar song.
The one I am has always been here, whispering songs of life and love. Come with knowing our day draws nearer. Come with joy and endless love. Sacred dancing breathes our heart song, and silent yearning keeps alive. A union blessed before beginning, preordained beyond all time. Each step I take is one step closer to you, a joyous stride into the new. Each breath I breathe takes me inside your heart. Now I remember how to feel, and I remember how to fly. The one I am, fly. I am that I am, open to our sacred merger, and shedding tears of divine bliss. Every movement tells a story, and nothing could compare with this. So here in fullest understanding, and breathing light through every word, our lives become so undemanding, finally seen, finally heard. Each step I take is one step closer to you, a joyous stride into the new. Each breath I breathe takes me inside your heart. Now I remember how to feel, and I remember how to fly. The one I am, fly. I am that I am, the one I am. I am that I am, the one I am. I am that I am.
Gonna go to gallery view. Oops, I turned my video camera off. That was an accident. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you, dancers. Thank you, authors. Holy smoke. The whole evening has been awesome. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely filled.
Yeah, it was. This has been a really good, really good show. So again, thank you again, Celeste, Anton, Simran, and Joanna. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
And
you
always-
very much. Been
Mhm.
awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. And I always want to let people know what's coming up. This Saturday night, it's another Soul Search collaboration. And they're all psychics and healers. So It's a good night to come and be in the Zoom room so you can get healings and readings from these amazing people. And in addition to music from Omashar, Rayamana will be with us. And so we're going to have music from both Omashar and Rayamana. So it's going to be a really fun show. So join us on Saturday night. Thank you again, everybody. I'm going to go to gallery view. We can all wave goodbye and have a beautiful few days. And I hope to see each and every one of you this Saturday night. Take care, everybody. God bless you.